15 structure demolitions gone wrong. Today's video we will look at 15 megastructure demolitions gone wrong. Let's get started. Number 15, Ohio Edison Mad River Power Plant. The Mad River Power Plant in Springfield, Ohio was built in 1927 and has a 20 megawatt steam turbine powered by coal burning. After subsequent upgrades, the plant was responsible for providing at least a third of the town's power needs. Due to pollution concerns, the plant was closed in 1981. Still, it wasn't until 2010 that demolition experts arrived to demolish the building so the land could be rebuilt upon the main structure. 2 active turbines and 2 12,500 volt power lines were destroyed by rubble, leaving over 4,000 homes without power for several hours and causing an estimated $19 million in damage. In the next years that followed, there were a lot of lengthy lawsuits to figure out who was at fault. The power company blamed the demolition company they hired for the project. Number 14, the Pontiac Silverdome. The Silverdome was an 83,000-seater stadium that first opened in 1975 and was the largest capacity venue in the NFL for 25 years. Home to the Detroit Lions, it was also used for several other events such as the NBA, the FIFA World Cup, and WrestleMania 3. Still, when the Ford Field opened in Detroit, the Silverdome was left without a purpose. Attempts were made, but when the Ford Field was sold to new owners, the plan was to bring the structure down in stages. The first stage involved explosives imploding the upper section in December of 2017. The time had come to carry out the controlled procedure, but things didn't go entirely to plan. The explosives detonated, but the upper section remained in place. According to the demolition company, a tenth of the explosives had failed to go off. While they were sure that it would go off, the upper section remained. Number 13, Australian Beer Silo. In 2010, it appeared as if a demolition crew had been sampling the product when they attempted to bring down a structure to the west of Brisbane. The silo had been standing for 50 years. It was used to store malt for the nearby brewery due to the changing needs of the land, but the decision had been made to clear it so it could be returned to the landlord, who was the local. Number 12, St. Petersburg Sports and Concert Complex. The St. Petersburg Sports and Concert Complex opened in 1980 and has hosted everything from tennis and bowling tournaments to concerts by some of the world's most famous artists. However, it was scheduled for demolition in early 2020 to make way for the world's largest ice arena. Extensive studies are required to identify where the weight is being sustained, and precision cuts are made to guarantee the structure collapses safely and effectively. As workers removed the connections between the stadium's wall and roof, it suddenly collapsed with no warning. Workers were still inside and on top of the building, and unfortunately, not all were able to escape. One person died and several others were injured. In 2009, in Turkey, workers were attempting to clear a disused factory so a new shopping center could be built in its place. The building was constructed in 1928. The 82-foot-tall building was formerly a flour factory. A miscalculation might have had disastrous consequences. The building fell down on one side but retained enough momentum to continue rolling and flip over onto its roof. Most of the buildings remained intact. It landed frighteningly close to a nearby residential apartment and was only stopped by a strong wall. Number 10, Crimean Residential Building, Sevastopol. It is the administrative and economic center of the Crimean Peninsula and an essential financial and strategic port of the Black Sea. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine, which had previously been a part of Ukraine. For safety reasons, they used fewer explosives than usual. The structure was still standing, though at a dangerous angle. Number 9. Daluis Generating Station. The Daluis Generating Station opened in 1969 and ran until 2012, when it was decided that it was no longer economically viable to run. Assessments were made to determine how best to clear the area for reuse. And in 2015, the decision was made to demolish the building. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel to stay tuned for new videos. A new survey was necessary to decide what went wrong and what needed to be done, and it was completed within a month. Number 8. Danish Silo. Hundreds gathered near the waterfront in Vordingborg, Denmark in April 2018 to see the skyline altered for good. In the latest stage of a project to revitalize the old ferry town, demolition experts had positioned explosives at strategic points around the base of the silo. After a final check to make sure everything had been put up perfectly, they were ready to pull the trigger. The 173-foot tower fell in the opposite direction from the intended direction, causing debris to fall all over the nearby cultural center, which houses a library and a music school. Number 7. The Leaning Tower of Dallas. The attempted demolition of an 11-story office building in 2020 created a temporary landmark known as the Leaning Tower of Dallas. City officials had secured funding for a new $2.5 billion development that included residential properties, workspaces, and entertainment venues. The only thing standing in its way was the Leaning Tower of Dallas. Number 6. Liverpool Apartments. While large residential blocks may be unsightly and are being removed in favor of new structures with improved designs, they were built to last, and this can cause problems when it comes time to demolish them. In 2016, 2 towers in Liverpool were scheduled for demolition. Number 5. Zip Feed Mill Tower. From 1957 to 2005, the old feed mill tower was the tallest structure in South Dakota. However, the former feed mill in Sioux Falls was demolished because the land will be used for new residential and office buildings. Number 4. Miami Condos. When dismantling a structure, excellent care is to be taken to ensure that it only collapses after the area is cleared and everyone has an opportunity to flee. However, things sometimes happen unexpectedly, resulting in catastrophic repercussions. In 2018, workers were preparing to demolish a condo in Miami when the building collapsed on its own without any explosions or warning. Witnesses said they didn't hear any explosions and the only sound was of crumbling concrete. The process of cutting through the building's support beams caused a problem. This is standard procedure for demolitions, and it's a requirement to ensure they go down in a controlled manner. Number 3. Chinese Residential Building. Every building is constructed slightly differently, making demolitions all the more challenging. There is no single procedure for successfully lifting a structure. A well-thought-out plan of action must be developed before any work can begin. When you first laid eyes on it, everything was in place to demolish a 22-story residential building in Luzon, China. You could tell it was no ordinary demolition from the moment you first laid eyes on it because of how it was built. Number 2. The Anglesey Power Station. Anglesey Power Station was a coal-fired power station in Victoria, Australia. It was built in 1969 to supply power to an aluminum smelter nearby. Still, when that operation closed in 2014, the power station was no longer needed and environmental worries grew. After Anglesey closed in late 2017, key sections were removed from the structure. The exterior shell was ready for demolition in 2018. In this case, the demolition company's capabilities were limited to merely demolishing the building and leaving the chimney for later. When the charges detonated, 2 bunkers and a conveyor fell to the ground, but the rest stood firm, causing concern for the holding company because rumors spread that there was likely asbestos in the structure at the time of the partial collapse, a material that could have applied to the surrounding area after. Number 1. Toxic smokestack. No one wants to hear that their neighborhood has been coated in potentially toxic fumes and debris, but that's exactly what residents of Little Village in Chicago faced in 2020. The Crawford coal-fired power plant had been in operation for 96 years. Still, it was closed in 2012 after sustained pressure from the local community concerned about its environmental impact. Little did they know that their actions would prove their concerns to be true. What do you think about these demolitions gone wrong? Please let us know in the comments area below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel to stay tuned for new videos. Thanks for watching.